Everyone dreams of living in a giant, fancy house. I mean, who wouldn't want to live in a mansion with lots of luxuries, exquisite architecture, and of course, huge space? The idea of believing that only deep-pocketed people or celebrities can afford such big houses is quite the opposite of the truth. In reality, everyone can become the owner of a beautiful mansion for a really cheap price. But sometimes these cheap mansions come with dark, creepy secrets or certain conditions, which compels potential buyers to reconsider buying them. You'll be surprised to know that there are even houses that can be bought with less than $10. In this video, we'll tell you about 10 mansions nobody wants to buy at any cost. Wait till the first one. It will really surprise you. But before we get into that, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Number 10. San Francisco Bay Area home for $1. San Francisco is known to be one of the world's most expensive real estate markets, where the price of a dilapidated cabin can be in the six figures. But that's not the case with the historic home number 54, also called the Queen Anne. A single-family house cheaper than a cup of coffee. Yes, you heard it right, the city of Hercules, California, is offering this historic house for $1. But no one is willing to buy it. For years, this old house sat on a hill behind the Hercules Powder Works Clubhouse, a men's club for factory workers which dates back to 1901. In the year 2010, the city bought this Victorian-style house for $1. The plan was to renovate, preserve, and relocate the historic house to a nearby park as a visitor's center. So, the house was cut in half to move it to the city's corporation yard for working. But due to the city's limited budget and resources, the project was canceled, and the house has been sitting in two pieces alongside trucks and maintenance equipment ever since. Not sure what to do with it, the city decided to give it away to anyone willing to remove it from the city's property and reconstruct it at their own expense. Which means, putting it back together first. Number 9. The spooky Kentucky mansion sold for $1. Looking for low-price Halloween decorations? How about one haunted mansion for only $1? This old Romanesque-style mansion, known as the Auerbacher Clement House, was recently sold for $1. The house was built in the 1860s by famous coffee merchant Samuel Auerbacher in Louisville, Kentucky. Later, in the early 1920s, African Methodist Bishop Episcopal Zion Church and Reverend George C. Clement lived here. For many years, the mansion was used as a tax business office until it was taken over by the city in 2005 due to unpaid property tax. The house began to deteriorate over the years and was declared uninhabitable. The magnificent building began to suffer from partial structural collapse and water damage, until 2008, when the east wall of the Great Mansion fell, causing a neighboring daycare center to shut down. After this incident, the building was headed for demolition, till an architect, Scott Kremer, bought the building from Louisville Jefferson County Land Bank Authority for $1. His plan was to restore the mansion, but his plan failed, and he returned the building back to the city. The bank sold the property again earlier this year to Oracle Design for $1. They plan to restore it and convert it into apartments. Number 8. The historic New Jersey mansion for $10. The ravishing and enormous New Jersey mansion, sized 4,000 square feet with 6 bedrooms and 3.5 bathrooms, actual worth is $1.3 million. But it was up for sale for only $10. That's the bargain of the century. Although the sole condition is, before you move in, you need to move it off the property. Yep, that's no joke. You can buy the house, but you need to move it. Confused? Let us explain. The famous architect, Dudley Van Antwerp, designed this house in 1906. And anyone would love to get their hands on this property, but there's a problem with this particular one which is a bit fascinating. The land which the house currently sits on was bought by a real estate group which plans on building 8 houses in that particular area. So they must get rid of the mansion. Now, here comes the interesting part. The house can't be demolished, as the New Jersey Town Planning Board signed a deal for the preservation of the historical house. The town's officials declared it the responsibility of the buyer to move the house into a new location, which will cost hundreds and thousands of dollars, unless you have the power of Superman and land on which to put your pretty mansion. And land is way more expensive. Number 7. The 1875 Victorian Mansion. The Victorian Mansion, built in 1875 by a well-known chair manufacturer, Sylvester K. Pierce, is a masterpiece in itself. This 6,661 square foot mansion, with 10 bedrooms and 2.5 bathrooms, along with the exquisite details, is located in Gardner, Massachusetts, and is like a dream house. The house is up for sale for only $329,000, which is approximately the same price as an average house. What's the catch, you might ask? Well, this gorgeous mansion is famously known as one of the most haunted places in New England. The house has witnessed 7 brutal murders within its walls and has experienced numerous paranormal activities. The house was investigated by several horror TV shows. The price kept dropping over the years, but there aren't any buyers. Would you live in this mansion despite its heavy history? Number 6. The Hex House, Pennsylvania. The Remeyer's Hollow in Pennsylvania, also known as the Hex House, is the home and murder site of the witch Remeyer's Hollow. The house belonged to Nelson Remeyer, a Pennsylvania Dutch pow-pow doctor, who used to practice witchcraft and faith healing. Another local witch, John H. Blymeyer, had conflicts with Remeyer. Blymeyer blamed Remeyer for placing a hex on him for his bad health, so he and his 2 henchmen broke into Remeyer's house on November 28, 1928, and demanded that he undo the hex. Remeyer was beaten to death, and the house was set on fire, but surprisingly, it didn't burn down. All 3 men were convicted and imprisoned in the York witch trial, but were released eventually. The modern witchcraft tales and violence spread a sensation in public. The house was opened in 2007 to the public by Remeyer's descendants, displaying his life work and murder tale. Number 5. The $1,000 Mansion. Is it for real? Well, believe it or not, it is real. It's actually part of a plan by Detroit, USA, to fight against the city's biggest issue, blight. Due to extensive vacant buildings and abandoned structures, the city started offering properties in online auctions. The purpose is to strengthen the community. Some of the houses are real peachy, like this historic 4,200 square foot Tudor-style mansion located at 2224 West Boston Boulevard. The house not only has an historic address, but 7 bedrooms, 5 bathrooms, 69 windows. It dates back to the 1920s, surrounded by a historic neighborhood with 20th century style houses. Some of Detroit's prominent locals, like Henry Ford to boxer Joe Louis, lived once in this neighborhood. Now, you must be wondering, a place like this should be worth way more than just $1,000. Truth is, the place needs a lot of renovation, like hard flooring, electrical wiring, plumbing, windows, and door repairs. You need to fix everything. Number 4. Amityville, the Horror House. Just 30 miles away from New York City stands Amityville Horror House in the Long Island town of Amityville. The Great Haunted House witnessed a mass murder on November 13, 1974, when 23-year-old Ronald J. DeFeo Jr. murdered his whole family in their sleep. The family included 4 siblings and both his parents. The house was purchased by the Lutz family for $80,000, 13 months after the incident, as the price dropped drastically due to the murders. But the family left the house within 28 days after experiencing certain paranormal activities. The tale soon caught the attention of writers and filmmakers. Knowing that fact that these stories are actually true, it still gives spine-tingling chills to everyone. Number 3. 50 Cent's Mansion. 50 Cent's mansion is owned by the famous rapper 50 Cent. The world is full of rich hip-hop fans, and there must be someone who can buy the mansion and show like, hey, I own 50 Cent's old mansion. Should be an easy sell, right? This ridiculously giant mansion contains 21 bedrooms, and that's the problem. It's so huge that no one is willing to buy it. Initial bids started from $18.5 million. Later, the price dropped to $8.5 million, and now it's only $6 million. And with that, it's now time for today's subscriber pick. Today's photo was sent to us by a subscriber. If you come across a photo online and want to know more details about it, just send it over to us. We might even feature it on a future video. Number 2. It seems like this picture was photoshopped, as there is nothing original related to it on the internet. We understand where the editor of this picture got the idea for it. In Dubai, there are suites which are underwater, but there haven't been any houses or mansions which float on the water indefinitely. Underwater hotels and restaurants are very trendy, but no house which floats on the water has been built. But with the technological innovation and the speed at which things are going and people are making new things every day, we can only expect floating houses to make an entrance in upcoming years. It's not a question of if, it really is a question of when it will happen. Number 1. Mansion with blood on its walls. Who wouldn't want to buy an enchanting Victorian-style mansion? Once it's up for sale, potential buyers will try their best to get their hands on such a gorgeous property. But let's just say it's not the case with this house. Consisting of 5 bedrooms, a 2-acre garden, and exquisite architecture, the house remains in despair due to a horrific murder the house witnessed. A lawyer, Christopher Lumsden, former owner of the house, brutally stabbed his wife over 30 times. Crazy, right? After the incident, the land became even less desirable than before. That is our list of 10 houses and mansions that nobody wants to buy. Would you ever want to buy and live in any of these houses? Tell us in the comments. And if you liked the video, don't forget to like and subscribe.